everybody. I had a couple of comments about CIP messages from a user on the Ethernet IP videos. Apologies, I haven't posted anything in a while. Been out traveling for a little bit, so let's get into it. Just brought up a Codesys project that we've been building on from our last videos. As you can see here, we just got our Ethernet IP scanner and an Ethernet IP adapter we had set up before. So we're just going to make a simple message on a, I'm going to use a Dan Foss VFD. And I'm also going to bring up the Allen Bradley Rockwell version. And we're going to show you a couple of differences too. So I'm just going to go ahead and then right click on my scanner. And I'm going to add a device. And so here's a bunch of ABB drives. And there's a FC302 Dan Foss VFD here. I do not have one of these hooked up in my house. I do not have 480, but I use this all of the time. We're just gonna just leave this kind of blank here. The connections that I use, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. And for the MCB 112, this 103, 153 is the best in my opinion, so I'm just going to go ahead and select that. And then we're going to get all of this. You can change these and delete these and just do words if you want to, or you can leave it like this and do combines and everything else later. It really doesn't matter for what we're going to do right now, but so I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create the best thing that I have found, and that's easy for me to see, is to do a function block diagram in Codesys for this. So you just select application, do add an object, and we're going to do a POU, program. So we're going to do a program. And then let's just, messages. You can name this whatever you want, communication or whatever. I'm going to select function block diagram, and I'm going to add. And remember, if you don't call this block, you're going to need to either drag it like this down into a task to be able to complete that or not. And then, so we already have added our Ethernet IP scanner. If this hasn't happened, you're going to need to add the library. So what we're going to do is, let's just say we want to grab a simple readout from the drive. So I'm just going to insert an empty box. And so now we have this here, and our library is Ethernet IP, ENIP, and then now after I hit, I've went over in previous videos how you go about setting up to make your Codesys do this. So after the dot, so I just want to do a generic service for this one. So I'm going to hit generic service, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to ask us to declare. So the auto declare will do that. You can name this whatever you want, but I'm just going to do the default and say okay. And now we have our message block, kind of like in Rockwell, where it kind of puts up the little block there. We can go ahead. Actually, I'll go ahead and just do that now. So I'll just jump over to my virtual machine. So we'll do a new project. Let's just select that. And let's just say YouTube. And then click next. And we'll just finish. Yes. Hopefully everybody's holidays were really good while we're waiting on this to load up. Once again, if you like the channel, you try to respond to everybody's comments. Please, leave a comment. I try to help out as much as possible. You can go to the website, send an email, do whatever it is you need to do. All right, so we got our little project here. I'm just going to go ahead and select and say new module on Ethernet A1. Let's see, we got our damn Foss FC302 here. Same thing as the other one. Just click create, or you can double click it, and we're just going to name it. You can name it Axis or anything you want. So we're just going to go ahead. Oh, I was getting ahead of myself since we don't have a drive or anything saved like that. So now we have our Danfoss drive module here. And so then you can do this, but you can just add a ladder element. So we're going to do message, and then we're going to need to declare a variable for our message. So this is Danfoss. Let's do Danfoss message. So we haven't created it yet, so you can right click, do that. And then the ellipses here, we're just going to click that, and we'll come back to this in a little bit. So I'm doing a generic message on the other hand, and we're going to get back to this. We'll notice where all these hex values are at. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swap back to our Codesys. So we have our generic service, same as our others. So our execute, that's going to be the same thing as the ladder rung in the Rockwell. I have just mine set the defaults where it will, create these, question marks and errors. To be sure I come back and fill them in. We're going to end up filling some of these in, some of these not, or you can just delete them as I'm doing now. And I'm just going to go ahead and clean it up to make it a little bit more visually appealing, I guess. So, same thing as a Allen Bradley message. We're going to need to execute this. So, how you would do your timers in Allen Bradley. In our previous project, we used a blink. You can use this, and we can do this every 100 milliseconds if we want. Or you can do it on a variable. So whenever something happens, you want to run and grab something and look at it. It really doesn't matter. And then we're just going to create a new one. So we're just going to do a message start there. Or if you don't want to do this, we could have created a global variable for it and done it that way. So the global variable is just like an Allen Bradley, is kind of like your tag list, your controller tag list. So we're going to do a message start. So I'm just going to copy that. We're going to go back to our function block, and then we're going to say, PLC PRG, and then do message start. So now we're going to execute it. So our Ethernet IP device right here, where we want to grab the message and or send a message from, and then there's an ellipses box here. We're just gonna select this, and so now we have our application, and we can reach down into here. And you have all of these options available, and it's all about picking the right one. But as you can see here under IO config globals, we have our FC302 over IO driver Ethernet. This is the one that we want to pick. See, because if we come down here, this is just libraries and everything we're going to grab. This is all just from the generic service that we have. But in our application, we don't have any of that, but our globals are our list over here. So we're going to select FC302. We're going to click OK. And so now we have that. So the next thing that I was getting to is the class, instance, and attribute. Just like our uh, our Rockwell and Allen Bradley one, instead of custom, since we're going to get single attribute. So I'm just going to hit the down play here, and so we want to. So we have set. So where's our get? So our get single attribute is right here. So then we have our class, our instance, and our attribute. And these are in hex values. Okay. And then we can put it into a new tag. We can develop a new tag, or, there's nothing in this because it's a new project. So we're going to create a new tag if we go to do that. But communication, our path, the same thing that we kind of picked earlier, so we can browse for it. And then there's our Foss drive. So same thing as we kind of selected in the Codesys version. So we're just going to go ahead and do yes there, and then we can go back to configuration. So in the Foss manual for doing the CIP message, okay, the class would be like the parameter group of the drive that we wanted to do. So in Foss, they have like parameter set 3s and 4s, all the way down to whatever. But they say you need to add 100, so it's a decimal value, right? So let's say we wanted to grab the drive's fault word, which is, I know it's in parameter group 16. Okay, so instead of 16, we would do 116. And then for our instance, it is on our instance, so there would be group 16 parameter number 90. We would need to add another 100, so that'd be 190. Okay, and we don't have to do the timeout. And then our attribute, which is the index value. So if your index value, so if it's an array inside of something, where if you had a parameter group that had, like, let's say it was like 1690, 0.1, this is where you would do like 101, and then it would run and grab that it would index down into that array block for there. But we're just going to grab the whole thing. So we're just going to label this as 100 since it's going to be 0. And then the service here. So this is the other part. So we would do ENIP. Okay. Then we would do a CIP common service. And then we would hit that. And then we would say get single attribute, or get attribute single. And then we'd hit enter. And that's what we want to do. So the next thing that we want to do is we need to place this in a variable. So look, I know this is a fault word that we're going to go grab. So let's just create a global variable for it, so that way you can display it on a HMI or whatever. So you can say drive fault word 1. Let's just call this a word, because that's what it's going to be. Then we're going to come back over here. And so if we were going to, so as you can see here in this function blocks, it says write data, or write data and then data size, or read data and then read data size. So right now we're just going to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I just clicked on this little dash mark here, and I'm going to say insert an empty box, and we're going to do an address block. and then the data size. So then I'm going to do empty box, and then that's size of. So that way we don't have to do anything else with the function block, because this is a Codesys block, and we can't do anything on the inside of it. You can open it up and the directions will tell you. This is an easier way of just doing it. So we're going to do drive fault word 1 as our variable, and then you just copy that down here. So now every time this message start happens, it's going to run to our drive here, FC302, or whatever you name it. If you have a bunch of VFDs or other items, you would name it here, and then it's going to run out and grab that. You can set your done bits or error bits, or if anything else, like if the Ethernet goes down, so you can actually set this to like Ethernet error, and then we can create that variable, and then you can use this for your programming later as well too. But this block will completely work. Your timeout time, if it doesn't reach back in a certain time, you can set this if you want to. If not, it's going to default to almost instant within the normal 5 to 10 milliseconds or whatever. So if we were going to translate this into Allen Bradley, what we would have to do is, or if you had another piece of equipment, that is looking for a hex value. So this is a 116 E class, right? So if we would come here, so our class, we need a hex value. So what we can do is I'll bring up our handy dandy programmer calculator, and we have a decimal value of 116. So our hex value would be 74. We don't need anything fancy here. So here you would do 74. And this is the same value as what your Codesys value 116 is. So you would do the same exact thing for instance, which is 190. So then we would come here. Let's do our calculator again. So we clear this, do 190. Oh, 90. And be BE. Then you would type in BE. And then the same thing for the instance. Then if we wanted to place that in there, it'd be drive fault word 1. You click up. Well, there we go. And you click apply. So we need to do the instance. So let's just do that real quick. So we do 100. 100. So then we do 64. 64. And click apply and click OK. So now our message for the damn Foss is completely set up, and then you can obviously do your you can do a timer, or you can do, not damn Foss message not done, so that way it just does it all the time. However it is that you want to do your messaging times in programming. But that's pretty much it. It's really super easy to do the Dan Foss message, not Dan Foss messaging, but for this Dan Foss message, yes. But you can still do generic service, or you can pick whatever service that you want to do, and you would load that in here. As you can see, you can apply attributes or get a list, which would be your entire array block, or you can get all the attributes in that whole entire group. Uh, it's all the same thing, common industrial protocol. Uh, and it's really pretty simple after that. And that's pretty much it, folks. It's really easy. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to leave a comment. If you liked the video, you found it helpful, uh, that's amazing. Peace, love, and happiness. I hope everybody has a great day.